Hello, chat room. Well, hello,
I'm not
chat
actually
room.
drinking it right now, but that's what I was drinking earlier. So that's
It's
what I'm going
so
with.
Nice
to have you in the place where you belong.
The chat tonight.
Know your place is what this song says. Don't ever leave the caste system. This is a very colonial song.
Is it?
No. I'm like...
Hello, Dolly?
Yeah, I'm totally overdoing it. It's not like that at all.
My drink is made by chicks.
Delicious. Hello, Becca Smiles, Tamahome, Armut 1917, and Mac Lurker.
All right. Mac Lurker. He's like, we be lurking.
We be lurking, yeah.
All right, so how are we looking here? We're good.
I think I'm good.
Didn't have a ton of barrier swords tonight.
Yeah, we have a couple. That's good. Oh, we
Yeah.
have a lot of Book of the Month stuff, though, so that balances it out.
Great.
Yeah.
I said
wasn't
great like I didn't put them there.
I know. I wasn't expecting there to be that much.
Yeah. Do you need to open them up or anything?
Yeah, I got them open.
Okay. All right. All right, I think I'm ready.
I should start
Are you ready?
recording the backup.
Yeah, backwards.
I am recording the backup.
The Wordle segment. I haven't played Wordle today. Should we play Wordle
I almost
live?
forgot to play Wordle.
I haven't
Got
played
it in 3 today.
Got it. It seemed like a lot of people got it in 3 today.
I didn't think I was.
I'm not regular. I don't actually play myself. Ryan plays, and I just sit there and help him try
and
to
you
figure
try to
it
guess.
out. Yeah.
I got 2 yellow, and then boom, got it on the 3rd try.
Nice. All right. You're recording back up?
I am.
Sounds good. All right. I'll do a clap
Hope it
back.
does.
And 3, 2, 1. And 3, 2. Was that you?
What?
Okay.
I didn't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything?
No.
I heard a weird sound coming from your end.
I mean, I kind of made a smile because it was the beginning of the show.
Weird. Oh, I thought
I
you were
don't know that
reacting
you
to
would have
something.
heard that.
You didn't fart or anything.
No.
Are you trying to cover that you farted? You
No,
farted.
I would admit it. At this point, I would admit it, even if I had been covering it. Yeah, that was
I
weird.
hate the lighting in here right now. It's so, like, I look very sallow. Whatever.
Okay, college girl with your vocabulary.
All right, and 3, 2. Hey, everyone. Welcome to The Sword and Laser. I'm Veronica Belmont.
And I'm Tom Merritt.
Sword and Laser is a book club, but it's so much more. We bring you author interviews, news from the world of science fiction and fantasy, and, of course, awesome discussions from fans just like you. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Veronica. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. And a hello to everyone in our live chat room tonight. We've got lots of friends here because I adhered everyone in the Discord server.
And they adhered to your call.
Oh, well done, sir. What are you drinking this fine evening?
Having a little St. Francis port. I don't know if they legally can call it port because they're not from Portugal. They're from California. But it's a kind of a staple during the winter months. So I always get 2 bottles of port from them in December, and then we just kind of sip on them the rest of the year.
Nice. I have a bottle of port that's been in my collection. Gosh, it's probably been 15 years now, and I haven't opened it. I'm just never in the mood for it, but maybe I should just...
You know what
it out
changed
one
it
of
for
these
us?
nights.
I bought port glasses, and I left them out. They're not in the cabinet. They're sitting out, and it reminds us, like, ooh, don't want to have a big drink tonight, but a little port would be nice.
A small drink.
Yeah, small.
Un pequeño drink. I'm also having a small drink. It's Bev. It's a Gris.
Bev.
And it is...
That's French for Bev Gray.
Yeah, sure.
Or is
And
that Spanish? Maybe that's Spanish.
It's Pinot Grigio, and they're little like wine cans that have a little bit of fizz in them. They're very refreshing. My mom turned me on to them last time.
It's a wine cooler. It's
basically a wine cooler. Yeah. Well, it doesn't have any sugar in it. It's sugar-free.
Okay. All right.
It's just sparkling wine. It's just like sparkling wine in a can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like Activa or whatever it is. No, it doesn't. I'm looking to see what it has in here. It
sounds
doesn't have any
refreshing.
ingredients.
I'll be honest.
It's a women-owned business, so that's cool.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Love it. Made by chicks.
So Armut says, at least it's not a Zima. And when I worked at the liquor store in Boston many, many moons ago, we had one of my friends in college who would only drink Zima, and he basically kept the liquor store in Zima for like 2 years.
He
was the guy. He was the only guy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Pretty much for Adam. So Adam, if you're out there, I hope you found your Zima cache somewhere in the world. It's like an alternate history where Zima became very popular.
Where Zima still rules.
Yeah,
there was never
exactly.
White Claw, only Zima.
Well, I hope you all are noticing that my audio sounds better. I hope it really does actually sound better. I got a new microphone. I'm feeling pretty good about it. It's a Blue mic, a Blue microphone. That's the brand, Blue. It's the Yeti.
It was a little sad until she started using it, though. We'll admit. Now it's not Blue anymore.
What do you mean?
It's just the brand Blue.
Oh. So I hope it sounds a little more professional. I don't have the wherewithal to convert my kitchen into a recording studio the way my old office was. So This is the best we're going to get, unfortunately. Well, anyway, now that we are done with all our bookkeeping, shall we jump into the quick burns?
March Madness is the name of the NCAA tournament and copyrighted by them, but we do something in March also that does not infringe in any way on their trademarks. And the nominations for what we do are open. You can nominate books in our Goodreads thread until 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday, February 21st. All the rules, there's not a lot of rules, but there's lots of details you might have questions about. The complete guide is in the thread by our amazing moderator, Rob. Here's the top line stuff, though, if you're unfamiliar. One nomination per person. Has to be sci-fi or fantasy, obviously, because that's our show. Should be something we haven't read. If we've already read it before,
preferably,
we're not going to want to pick it. We will choose 8 sci-fi and 8 fantasy out of the nominations. We have the final say on that. It's not a numbers thing. We try to pick balance, try to, get some stuff that's different so it's not all the same kind of book going up against each other. And then starting February 23rd, there will be a series of polls pitting one book against another for you to vote on. The winner of each head-to-head poll will advance to the next week, where it will face another winner of a poll. And the fourth and final week will start on March 16th with the surviving fantasy book against the surviving sci-fi book. And the winner of that last poll becomes the April book pick.
So exciting. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I love it.
It is. I love this.
And thanks always to Rob Rader for organizing and putting this whole thing together every year. I don't even know how many years he's done this in a row. It's been a lot. He's got the game down pat, and it's always so much fun. And my favorite part really is like the authors that get involved and get excited about them, like who they're up against and things like that. Yeah. So also remember, it doesn't matter whether a sci-fi or fantasy book wins. It's not going to change our overall format. So if there's, so we're doing a fantasy book now, and then
sci-fi Peter F. Hamilton
March,
during the votes
during March, and so another sci-fi book could win, and then it would be 2 sci-fi in a row, and then we would go back to fantasy. If a sci-fi book won,
that's what we've done in the past. If we get 2 in a row, then we do the opposite one the month after, and then we go back to the normal rotation.
So we could actually get 3 sci-fi in a row. 3 sci-fi.
Well, it would be
in a row.
sci-fi, and if sci-fi happens, then we'll do fantasy, right?
Okay.
And that balances it out.
All right. Let's see. This is how the sausage gets made.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mark says we have done 6 years of March Madness, and I'm pretty sure Rob has organized every year. So
I remember the first year I was trying to do it all myself, and Rob was like, "Do you want help with that?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, yes, please." And he has been invaluable with that. So thank you, Rob.
Ever since. Thank you, thank you. Anne says the recommended reading list of Locus Mag for 2021 is up. For 2021? Or 2020?
Yeah, this is remember, Locus does the thing where they look back on last year's books and say, okay, now that they're not new, we've spent some time, here's what we recommend reading in case you missed it.
I love that. Okay. So yeah, some great picks. The list is long. I mean, there's a lot of novels here on the science fiction list and on the fantasy list. I'm just scrolling through to see if there's any in particular that like stand out to me that perhaps we read. A Desolation Called Peace is on there. That was the second in the Arcady Martin trilogy.
We've got the Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. I've heard lots of good things about. There's an Alistair Reynolds in there, Inhibitor Phase.
Leviathan Falls, James S.
Of
Corey.
course, yeah.
Natch.
Jeff Vandermeer had one last year. I kind of missed that. I think I vaguely remember hearing about that, but Hummingbird Salamander's on there as well.
Actually, we did better for picks in the fantasy section where we have Light from Uncommon Stars. We've got the Inheritance of Odiglia Divinia.
But we did Light from Uncommon Stars as a sci-fi pick, interestingly. I mean, it does exist in both worlds. So, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Jade Legacy is in there. That's
super
a good
funny.
One.
Yeah. So
Sherry Priest,
of course,
Grave Reservations made it as well. Nice.
To add to your TBR. Tamahome says in chat, I thought it was a foodie book. Confusing.
So many genres. You can't box it in.
Things. Don't even try.
Jan says that according to Deadline, newly formed Six Studios has acquired the rights to the first 6 books in Raymond E. Feist and Janny Wirt's Rift War cycle, which includes previous Sword and Laser pick Magician. So yeah, we have read Raymond Feist before. We read Magician, and that is in this series that is going to be up for adaptation. That's cool. Good to know. But man, it seems like everything's getting adapted now. There's like a gold rush on.
Love it. I back that fully. Mark says we read The Rook by Daniel O'Malley back in 2016. O'Malley followed up with that with Stiletto, and coming October 2022, a third Cheque Files novel, Blitz, from the acclaimed author of The Rook and Stiletto, the new book in the Rook Files series about a new recruit to the Cheque, the most powerful supernatural enforcement agency on Earth, who is accused of going rogue and must go on the run to clear her name. There was also one season of a TV adaptation, which I actually forgot to watch.
Oh, you never watched it?
Did you watch that? I forgot
so good. I liked it. I was really sad they didn't bring it back. It was on Stars, I think.
Oh, I didn't have Stars. But I have to get Stars again because Outlander is back.
Yes, you do. I may know someone who's seen the first 2 episodes because of screeners, and that person might be me.
That wasn't how I expected that to go.
But also,
the
screeners were because of my wife. But I also wanted them, potentially. I can't say for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah. Ian said an explanation as to why the Locked Tomb trilogy is now going to be 4 books, although reading the reason implies there may be a 5th. TLDR, the first part of Electo the Ninth was 140,000 characters long, or words. 140,000 words long. The editor stepped in and encouraged publishing Act 1 in its own book. So Tamsin Muir seems to be coming all down with a little George R. R. Martin disease here.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
No,
don't you dare say that.
I don't mean it in the not releasing. I mean it in the like, wow, this book is so long, I should probably cut it in half and put one half out as its own book.
Fantastic. Well, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain about more of these of Locked
George
Tomb
R. R.
books,
Martin should not be a synonym for complaining. I was only meaning
that's
writes
not
a really big
what
good book.
I was saying about unfinishing, which I think is a fair point to make.
You know, you got to be more like an Ent.
Just like wait for all eternity to hit puberty, or what?
Apparently.
What are you saying?
Yes, I definitely meant Ent puberty. Absolutely what I was going for.
I don't know. It's the first thing that came to my mind.
But you're right. Isn't that the thing with Ents? Is that they don't talk to humans unless they're really young? Isn't that?
I
is that why
literally
you
have
said
no
that?
idea. That's not why I said that. I just said
Okay.
that purely because I thought it would be funny.
Yeah, it was really funny.
And it worked.
Good job.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Jan says, if you want to lem something, okay. Okay. Wait a second. Okay, no, this is not what I think it means. All right, Jan says, if you want to lem something, you can check out My Year of Reading Lemishly, a way too long article about the works of Stanislaw Lem over at the London Book Review. Is it any good? Probably. But I can't say I didn't finish it.
Oh, Jan, this was exquisite. I laughed when I found this and copied it over into our lineup. If anybody
I'm so
doesn't
glad I
know,
got to read that.
we love Stanislav Lem. We honor Stanislav Lem's works. I unfortunately made a wrong choice and recommended for a first Stanislav Lem reading years ago, decades ago at this point, Memoirs Found in a Bathtub, which Veronica couldn't finish, and so then hence lemming a book became part of our lexicon.
Synonymous, yeah.
We apologize to Stanislav Lem for the error.
It is in Urban Dictionary, so it's real.
It is.
It is a real
right.
thing. It is the top definition for to lem as a verb.
Yeah. Brian pointed out this cool link here. An artist using an AI, a machine learning algorithm. I think this is a deep learning algorithm, actually, because I hate to use just AI because it's so meaningless on its own. But I think it's a deep learning algorithm, probably a GAN, that perfectly fakes 70s sci-fi pulp covers. So they just train it on actual covers and then tell it, like, come up with stuff that looks like that. And it does a pretty good job. Although Brian says, in my vague memories, those covers seem more reminiscent of the late 50s and 60s. That is occurring on the used paperbacks I was buying in the early to mid 70s. But still, whatever you think they look like, they look good. I like these. And they're not real. Counting Mars by Sidney W. Brooks never existed.
I mean, the Isabella V. Rivera book, One Telling 10,000, looks like a real cover. I mean,
They all
a lot
do,
of these
yeah.
look like real covers. Yeah, for sure.
The Great Spacious
Are the names
by Lily
also
Kay
generated?
Cinema. Yeah, I think so.
I think everything's generated. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's been
I
a
think
few
the whole
of
thing
these
is.
kinds of things going around recently, which are pretty fun. I've been seeing a number of these like fantasy covers or sci-fi covers or works of art. So a little Giger-esque sometimes. It gets a little trippy, but I'm super into it. I think it's fun. And then Mark also says, okay, who knew this was a thing and didn't say anything? It's the Walter Day collection of science fiction historical trading cards. Gotta collect them all. So we've got cards for H.G. Wells, Jules Verne. What were we gonna
Veronica,
say?
I've got doubles of H.P. Lovecraft, but can I trade you one for Philip K. Dick?
No, I don't want that.
Really? Okay,
I'm
what
sorry.
about Aldous Huxley? Aldous Huxley and Lovecraft for Philip K. Dick.
Ooh, I do need a Huxley for my collection. Do you have any Andre Nortons?
No, but I have an Arthur Conan Doyle.
Okay, all right. We can talk about this.
I know
a little
you
bit.
like Sherlock.
I do like Sherlock. I do. It's not worth
Arthur
much,
Conan
but
Doyle
it's
for
worth
Philip
it to
K.
me.
Dick, straight up.
Done.
Done.
Sold.
Took me back to fourth grade right there.
So, can you actually buy these?
I don't
these real?
know. Yeah. All I know is that immediately someone said, why aren't there sword and laser trading cards? To which someone else responded with pictures of the Geek a Week trading cards that Len Peralta created of both of us years ago.
Oh, yeah, we do have that. We do have that. But I want cards for, like, everyone in the audience. That would probably be too
I would like a
much.
Tamahome card and a Terp Kristen card and a Jan card and
a Roberator card.
Daradara card.
Mark card.
Roberator card.
And Beth
Roberator
Mitchum
should
card.
be like a team card, like a
And a
special
Jenny.
card, you know.
A Jenny
Yeah.
card. Yeah, a Ruth card. I'm just going to keep
Now we're in
naming
trouble
people in
because
Goodreads
we're not
forums.
gonna say
Now
someone.
we're going to leave people
Yeah.
out. Oh, a Tazzy Dave card.
Wait. Hold on. Hold on.
A Drake
a second.
Tungsten card.
No. Hold on. I can't believe we had that trouble with the internet where we named every single person in the audience and it got lost. Really, apologies for that.
Tough break. Yeah. Well, maybe
that's
we can
just
fix
the way
it
the
in
internet
post.
goes sometimes. Yeah.
She never fixed it in post. Also, there was another late breaking quick burns that I wanted to make sure I mentioned, which is Mark posted it, but Tamahome mentioned it in Discord, which is that apparently Hulu is buying new episodes of Futurama.
Well, first of all, you can always add that to the rundown. So,
too late.
But
it's too late. No.
Yes, Variety reported that earlier today. They are bringing Futurama back for a third or fourth time, depending on how you look at it. It depends on whether you count those special episodes in between Comedy Central and the second, or in between Fox and Comedy Central runs.
Shut up and take my money!
It's coming back. Good news, everyone.
I'm very excited.
Me too.
Okay, cool. Tamahome may be thinking, I think Veronica just stole my joke, but I would have made that joke anyway because that is one of my favorite. I made that joke earlier
on DTNS when we talked about it. So
yeah, well, so maybe he stole your reference.
Yeah,
to
I think
that
Tamahome
joke
stole
from
mine.
Futurama. So there you
Thank
go.
you.
Okay. All right. And then, all right, well, that's it. Thank you for submitting your quick burns. You can always add quick burns of your own over on the Goodreads forums. Just look for the quick burns thread. All right, now it is time for Barrier Sword, which is our feedback from the audience. And the first one comes from Chris on Facebook, who said, "Hi guys, I just want to make a comment on your upcoming book, Pandora's Star by Peter F. Hamilton. This book is one of my most favorite books. Just wondered, have you guys considered listening to it on audio? It's fantastic. It's narrated by John Lee, who does an absolute fantastic job. Considering how many different characters there are in this, he is very good at voices and makes each character very distinct. Also, I was just wondering whether you were going to read the follow-up book, Judas Unchained. Don't want to spoil anything, but this book is very much, but this current book finishes on a cliffhanger. Oh, great. If you're anything like me, you immediately want to start the next book. Looking forward to your views on it in March."
Light Mountain's growth, although it could never be completely halted.
There's your answer, Chris, on Facebook. I've got it right
you finished
here.
It in audiobook already?
I didn't finish it. That was just
the
me
first
playing.
Book.
Yeah, that was playing in the middle of the first book. What made you think I finished it?
I thought you were playing Judas Unchained in audiobook.
No. That was Pandora's Star. Possibly we'll get sucked into reading Judas Unchained, Chris, but probably not.
I cannot. I am furious that this book ends on a cliffhanger. Just knowing that.
Well, it's kind of a spoiler. Like honestly, Chris,
that this is my part-time job to read this book right now.
You did spoil something by saying a book finishes in a cliffhanger. That is not spoiling. So I don't know if you meant to spoil or you thought you weren't spoiling, but that is considered a spoiler to say that. And you've now spoiled Veronica.
What do I do? I'm going to finish it.
Yeah, you're going to finish it.
No, I'm going to finish it.
And then you'll see. Then you'll see what happens.
I'm reading it and listening to the audiobook because that is the only way I can conceivably finish this book
you're like
in time.
doing the whisper sync thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's working. This is actually the best whisper sync has ever worked for me. I'm not sure why, but it figured it out right away. Normally I have to turn my Kindle on and off 50 times and restart my phone and do all this crap to get it to work, but it just worked right away. So that was good. Seems like it works better if you start with the book and then get the audiobook. Oh, okay. Go ahead. I was done.
David writes, "Hi, thanks again for reminding me about the Tor.com 2021 ebook collection. With everything going on, I almost forgot about it. Also, for introducing me to the Reading Glasses podcast. I've really been enjoying their book light review. Very helpful. Yeah, thank you, David, and glad you're enjoying the Reading Glasses too. I love those guys.
I can't listen to another podcast about books. I think it would make me too jealous. I would spend too much time trying to figure out how I can make my podcast about books better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what would happen to you.
He's like, that makes sense. That tracks with your personality traits.
That fits, yeah.
Great.
I'm actually going to go on the Reading Glasses podcast to talk about because they do like book tip things to talk about reading with a person or being in a relationship with someone who doesn't read as much as you. Because Eileen is not a big reader. She can read and she does read, but she doesn't read a lot, and I read a lot. Because I was saying, I always hear them reading emails from people who are like, oh, my partner and I always do this or always do that, and I'm like, oh yeah, we don't share book tips because we don't read the same way. So I'm going to do a segment on that, like. You can be in a successful relationship with someone who is not as bookish as you are. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very cool. Well, yeah, you'll have to let us know when you're on.
You're mad that I'm going.
I'm jealous.
On the podcast. I know. I could see.
Mad.
I could tell.
I'm mad. I'm
I'll
mad that
come
I wasn't
back.
asked. No, it's fine. It's fine. You like
I
them better.
pitched
It's
the
fine.
idea.
It's fine.
What do you mean you weren't
You pitched
asked?
it?
Pitch an idea. Okay. Yeah.
So you mean if you put yourself out there, you get opportunities that you might not otherwise have to do things? Crazy.
Yeah. Well, apparently. I don't know. It seemed to work this once. Also,
All
but
right.
Mallory and Bria owe me because they filled in for you.
Oh, that's true. Or you owe them. You owe them, right?
Oh, right. I
For
owe
filling
them.
in for me.
That makes more sense.
It was such an honor for them to be on this
Yeah,
show.
no, that doesn't make
They owe you.
They owe me for letting them do that extra work. Oh my
I'm sure
gosh.
they'll be thrilled to hear.
Yeah.
Should we jump into our book
them.
check-in?
Let's do that. Let's do the check-in.
All right, we are checking in on The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nghi Vo. Thanks so much to Seth for the recommendation. We already have the book briefing up over on Patreon. This is a shorter pick, as we have discussed in previous episodes. It's a novella. So it's really only about 2.5 hours on audiobook form too. So if you're looking for something to listen to, it's a great thing to pick up and listen to, wash a few dishes, do some house chores, and you're done. But I thought I'm done. I thought it was really great. We're not going to wrap it up in this episode. This is a check-in, just to be clear. But yeah, what are you thinking so far, Tom?
I purposefully, because it is so short, didn't start it until Sunday.
Got it.
And purposefully stopped myself from finishing it so that I don't know how it ends right now. And I can give a clear, I'm in the middle of reading it. I don't normally do that. I quite often hit these episodes with longer books and have finished it by now. But because it was so easy to not feel like I was going to fall behind with this, I'm like, oh yeah, I can easily finish this tomorrow. I decided to play it that way. I love it. We watch a lot of wuxia, which are kind of Chinese fantasy TV shows, and a lot of the period pieces. Some of them are historically set, some of them are fantasy set, but the historically set ones really reflect a lot of what's going on this episode with the Empress and the consorts and the exile and all the palace intrigue and all of that is involved in the storytelling, and even the kind of the typical tropes of the rabbit and the Buddhist monk, and it kind of in some ways reminds me of I'm blanking now. Monkey King story. I can't remember the name of the monk in there, but this monk reminds me of that monk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cleric.
But yeah,
she's a cleric.
Exactly, a cleric. It's on the
I'm
tip
sorry,
of my
they're
tongue,
a cleric.
and I cannot remember her name, and I don't want to say it wrong. But anyway, it's good. I'm enjoying it. My only regret, personally, is that it's only a novella.
Yeah, feels like it could have been a full novel if they wanted it to be. So Jenny said, The Chosen and the Beautiful was the name of her title for her post. And Jenny said, I skimmed this novella, not really for me, but I really loved her debut novel, The Chosen and the Beautiful. It's a retelling of The Great Gatsby. When I reread The Great Gatsby, I hadn't really remembered the character of Jordan Baker, a friend of Daisy and sometimes narrator. In this retelling, she is the focus, lending a queer, Asian, and sometimes magical perspective. I claim to dislike retellings, but I loved this. Since the original work is now famously in the public domain, many authors have been taking the work and running with it. Nghi Vo uses some pieces verbatim, whether they be dialogue or scene setters, but always for the purpose of showing from a different angle. Jordan has a lot of access to the characters, after all, and also has the ability to create out of paper cutting. Took me back to The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. Gatsby may have more secrets than we knew. The rich and famous drink Demonac. And there seems to be glamour beyond just what money can buy. All to say, highly recommended. So I know this isn't about our novella, but I thought it was interesting. Because I've never read The Great Gatsby.
I admire how Jenny turned what could have been a negative post into a positive one. That was very well done, Jenny. Well done. Tripitaka. Tripitaka is the name of the cleric in Monkey King.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, so Jenny says that you probably don't need to have read The Great Gatsby to understand this one, but it helped her to see how it all kind of came together. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I like that idea of taking public domain books and giving a new spin to them like that.
Yeah, I like it too. I feel like I need to read more classics. I've talked about this a lot on the show before. I feel like I'm
start
missing
a second book club.
Reading the classics for the first time. Yeah, I can definitely fit in another novel-length book every month.
We'll call it
definitely got to be happening.
Leather-bound and hardback.
Leather-bound and hardback. That sounds...
Yeah, because the leather-bounds are the really old classics, and the hardbacks are
Tom,
just old.
That doesn't sound like a book club show. That sounds like a BDSM show.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Well... Take that, someone who wants to make a BDSM podcast. We won't be using it.
That is also a book club.
But it's a great name. Great name for your BDSM book club. Yeah.
You could host it over at
Actually,
Wicked
that's
Grounds.
a really good name for a BDSM book club. You're right. Please, enjoy. Take it. It's yours.
It's on us. Have that one for free. Cool.
Should I get into Eric's?
Please do.
Then?
Yes.
All right. Eric said, we're introduced to the cleric with gender-neutral pronouns. Interestingly, Tripitaka, often gender-flipped or gender-neutral. In the Netflix revival Monkey, Tripitaka is played by a woman. Anyway, when Rabbit meets the cleric, she calls her girl before realizing she's a cleric and correcting herself. So it seems the office comes with an abandonment of gender. Perhaps this is meant to signify something larger, that they are giving up their individuality by becoming clerics. Or is there perhaps cultural translation thing going on here? For example, the cleric calls Rabbit grandmother. This is pretty common throughout Asia. Everyone your mom's age is an aunt or uncle. People your age that you want to respect are older brother and older sister. I wonder if there's something like this for monks in Asia, that it's correct to refer to them without gender. Yeah, there was. I was watching a show called Reset, and there's this one guy they call Uncle, and he gets really upset. He's like, "I'm not that old. Call me brother."
So apparently there's an interview with Vo in Locus Mag, who talks about the character, and the part that Rick broke out into this thread. She is the narrator of Empress of Salt and Fortune. At some point, people are going to figure out that, okay, I don't want to say that. Spoilery. There might be a little spoilery there.
We want you to figure that out on your own.
Vo says, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name of the character right. It's Chih.
In the audiobook, they say G.
Chi, okay. Chi came along quite a bit after the genesis of the story and after I started figuring out how I was going to write it. Rabbit was always there, and Inyo was always there, but Rabbit needed someone to talk to. Who would Rabbit talk to? The answer became Chi, a non-binary historian monk who's basically on pilgrimage and just happens to stop by. So that's how they started. So it isn't, from Vo's perspective at least, that all clerics are gender neutral or non-binary, but that this particular cleric happens to be. But I don't actually know if that comes across in the story, because I don't think she ever says their pronouns or in any way instructs Rabbit. Rabbit just kind of figures it out by looking at them. So that's interesting. So I guess it could be taken both ways. from the reader's perspective.
Yeah. And Dezerla said, as a non-binary person, I chose to read it as all of the clerics being some form of non-binary or trans instead of giving up your identity to become a cleric. Maybe it's just me not wanting my identity to be used as just a notation of rank instead of an indication of the character's identity. But I think that plays into why maybe it isn't made clear, is to leave room for that.
Yeah, Jackie says, I actually thought that Chi themselves was non-binary, and this world understands and acknowledges that, which is even better. That's
I think,
I would wish that the world would be like that. So that's kind of cool.
Maybe
that's just not
I almost
taken
feel
for
like
granted.
this world doesn't take that stuff too, not that it doesn't take it too seriously, but it's not preoccupied with like, well, which of the two boxes do you go in? It's like, oh, you're that. Okay, that's fine too. Yeah, very wide open there. Yeah,
totally, very cool. And then this final thread: how far does SFF stretch? This is from John Taloni. I'm just making sure I don't say anything spoilery. Okay, so. I read kind of puzzled as it went on in a disjointed fashion, he says. After a while, I realized it didn't feel like SFF. I have the same problem with the first part of Niven Purnell's Footfall and the entirety of Lucifer's Hammer. It's too close to the real world. I read SFF for that stepping off into a different world, and if it's too close to our reality, then I don't engage. So for a similar style but different world building, I enjoyed This Is How You Lose the Time War, much less so Empress of Salt and Fortune. So, world building. How does this world different from our own history? How is this world different from our own history? Not so much, really. It feels like ancient China with mages added. If we go by the extinction date of mammoths, it would be set about 12,000 years ago, even though none of the civilizations would be close to what was in the book at that time. So either mammoths survived, or we postulate large governments much further back. So maybe about the same era as Conan. That's clearly SFF, but unlike Empress, Conan gets into weird pretty early on in each story. I see a lot of people love this book. For me, it was too close to a historical story. I could read those, but mostly as homework, not for fun. This was history with mages in a small supporting role, and a magical bird species. Not enough to make me want to make that leap. Enjoyed reading the ending, but it was getting to be a slog there. What do you think?
I think first of all, John Taloni, this is just your opinion and you're entitled to it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you might be underselling the magical bird, though, as far as like this having a fantastical and pretty crucial. In fact, we just learned that magical bird existed before the cleric. So I don't know. I wonder if you're assuming this is more historical than it is, perhaps. I don't think this relates to any actual emperors and empresses. And there's so many fantasies that are basically medieval Europe with a king and queen. And they just throw a mage in.
They throw a mage in there.
I'm not sure how much different. But maybe those don't work for John Taloni either. Maybe those are also like, nah, you got to have something more. So
I really liked Eric's post on this. He said, I understand even if I don't feel the same way you do. As others mentioned, an urban fantasy is kind of the same thing, e.g. the Dresden Files. It's just normal Chicago, but wizards. Or I guess Harry Potter. The funny thing is that I thought your logic, Eric says, was going to be about what I was thinking in the first couple of chapters. How is this SFF? And then I had to remind myself that there aren't ghosts and birds don't talk. But you know how there's like hard SF and hand-wavy SF and all the way to space opera or Star Wars, which straddles things, especially before midichlorians get involved. I feel the same way with fantasy. Another coincidentally also Asian-themed story that had me feeling a lot like this was the first book in The Poppy Wars. Totally agree. Until somewhere between 50% and 75% through, it's just the story of a scrappy kid in a Confucian-style, not China, trying to make it through graduation to an important post. Eventually, the fantasy elements come through, but kind of like Game of Thrones or EOSAF, they're kind of irrelevant. The only benefit of The Talking Bird is the one chapter where Rabbit talks to the bird instead of Chi. I had to read that last sentence slow because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a spoiler or not.
It's good, it's good to have your opinions, and I don't mean, again, the same thing with John Taloni. Like, I'm not trying to say your opinion is invalid, but I also think, for me, if it's got fantastical elements, it's fantasy. It may be fantasy you don't like, or it may not be in your wheelhouse. You may be like, yeah, it's just fine. I prefer my fantasy to have X, Y, and Z, and this didn't have that. That's kind of how I would encourage people to think about it. Not the almost too large question of, is it actually fantasy or not? But think about, is it my brand of fantasy? Is it my flavor of fantasy? Chocolate's food, but not everybody likes chocolate. They're crazy, but they don't like chocolate, right? So, that can be true of fantasy. Somebody can be like, yeah, I want it to have a lot more. That's what John Taloni was saying. Or I want it to, move out away from my current world, which I think John Taloni and Eric were both saying. So yeah, I think it's fine to be like, yeah, not my brand, not my flavor. But I think it's less useful to question whether it's fantasy or not. It's more useful to talk about what kind of fantasy it is and whether that fits your flavor profile, if that's not pushing the metaphor too far.
I liked it. Very cool. So that wraps up our episode. You didn't hear me sneezing, did you?
No, I did not. You were sneezing? Bless you.
Yeah, good. No, I was just making sure my mute button worked. I have a mute button on my mic finally. I've never had that before.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome. Yeah,
thank you.
Totally
so
worked.
I can sneeze unmolested. Thank you so much to everyone listening. It's still early in the month, so if you haven't started The Empress of Salt and Fortune, you can definitely pick it up and catch up with us. Like we said, it's a very quick book. It's a novella. One of the first times, maybe, a handful of times we've read a novella in the history of Sword and Laser. So easy to catch up on. And of course, thank you to all of you out there who help fund our show. You can help back our show by visiting patreon.com/swordandlaser.
Also, you can support the show by buying books through our links. We have links to bookshop.org if you want to support indie books. We also have links to Amazon if that's how you prefer. You can find all those links at swordandlaser.com/picks.
If you want to get in touch with us, our email address is feedback@swordandlaser.com. We also regularly hang out over on our Discord. You can find links to that over on our website, swordandlaser.com. And we're on Instagram and Twitter @swordandlaser. And of course, you can follow all of our discussions over on Goodreads, goodreads.com/swordandlaser. That's a lot of sword and lasers, but that's how we roll. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Boop. All right, chat room. I have a really hard time not making this the Tamahome show.
It's the Tamahome
I really just want to
show.
Parrot everything that Tamahome says. All right, cool. That's a wrap. What should we name it?
What flavor of fantasy? What's your fantasy flavor profile?
Fantasy flavor profile. Ooh. I like it.
Like that.
Fantasy flavor profile. How am I going to art that? Can I screen share?
We can tweak it if you
Yeah.
want to make it more arty.
I'm going to share my screen so that chat room can watch me make the album art.
Oh, cool. That's a nice idea. Look at that.
All right.
Oh my gosh, so
Look
fancy.
at that. Isn't it
And
fancy?
Now
You
it's
can see all my
an art
tabs.
stream. Yeah.
All right. So
I can't
What is
share
my fantasy?
my
not
screen.
concurrently. I don't think so.
Oh, I can't because you're sharing anyway. You're right, but I don't know if as a participant I even have that.
Let's see what we got for.
And now I have the song by Twice stuck inside my head because it's called Fancy. Those aren't the words, though.
All right, let's see what we got from album art here.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our masterclass with Veronica Belmont.
This is not that special. Pretty much what I do is I open up CCX and I start looking for food, because like we're talking about flavor profiles. So I'm like, okay, it'd be fun to have something that's kind of like food oriented.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fun, but I don't love that font. But that's okay. I can change the font.
There was a flavor wheel. I took a class on chocolate appreciation a long time ago, and there was a flavor wheel involved.
Flavor wheel. Let's see if we've got
it
any.
was like salts, sweet, all those kinds of things.
Let's see if stock. Oh, like that?
I don't see it yet.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah. No, that looks exactly like
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me start over.
Oh my gosh, that almost feels like it is it. It's probably the same wheel.
It's probably the same wheel. Okay.
But they had the beans in there in the middle like that. That's so funny.
The beans.
The beans.
All right, so let's see if there's... Do you want the coffee beans? Is that the...
Yeah.
Like
For this,
like
I think
peanuts.
anything works. I mean, we might have some nut allergies, though, so...
So now I'm going to make this the background. It's kind of confusing because it's like a lot of focus on beans here.
Yeah, that's a lot of beans.
It's a lot of beans.
Less profiles. Heavy on the profile. Heavy on the beans. Light on the profile.
We can do just like this. There's just coffee in the center of this one. Okay, so make this the... Oh, is it going to stay blurry? Oh, I don't like that. That makes me dizzy. All right, I don't like that.
Yeah,
one.
that's better with just a cup in the middle.
Yeah, but it was too blurry. It made the words blurry.
Oh, that's not good.
I don't want the words to be blurry.
I don't want the words to be blurry. It's over.
That's all right. Now I'm gonna actually make this a little bigger.
Did you ever watch Dawson's Creek?
I didn't.
No.
I did not. No.
I never watched it either, but I watched things on UPN, as it was called back then.
UPN.
That would advertise it, so I would hear the theme song all the time because they would play the little ads.
No, I totally also heard the theme song all the time.
I think it was in the middle of like all the Star Treks.
To be over, want to know right now what it be.
That makes me feel so 90s when I hear that song. I just go
I've been
right
having a
back
lot of
to
fun
my
on TikTok doing like
You've
doing
been
like
answering
the
questions,
songs.
I noticed.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun doing like songs on TikTok, like like those like, what are all these 90s songs you know?
I've just been seeing you talking about whether you have an accent or not.
Oh yeah, that was a thing. Like
That's
this.
what TikTok shows me of you. We all have a different TikTok.
We do all have a different TikTok. What's the name of this episode? Okay, what's your flavor profile? 4:30.
It's Fancy by Twice. Oh, I should stop the audio recording before I
Yeah,
forget.
you can probably do that. I'm gonna make this a lot bigger. I like this font. Oh, it's lobster. Okay. I know that one.
Lobster.
Does this
Oh, Nathan
read as
Chan.
a... Does this read as a flavor profile? Like, do people know what that is?
You're going to have to put something in the center that's flavory, I guess.
I was going to put the text in the center.
Maybe the beans would have worked. I don't know. Yeah, because I get what you're
'cause
saying.
Now it doesn't look like anything.
It doesn't read flavor profile right off the bat. You got to
Elizabeth
see
says
the.
it looks like a chupa chup. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I can do text around this. Let me make it a circle.
Oh my gosh, Ray is snoring.
Ray is snoring?
Yeah. You bored, Ray?
So rude. I don't want to wait for my life to me. I want to know right now.
Sorry, I put that in your head.
Boo, 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 boo.
I tried to get Fancy by Twice stuck in your head instead.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, see.
Chocolate. Tom only doesn't know what a flavor profile was. That's fair. Okay.
Do you know Blackpink?
Yeah, I know who they are.
All right. How do you like that?
How you like that?
See?
Wait, is that them?
That's Blackpink, not Twice. Twice is Fancy. Different band. But
Wait, but was the one I was just singing Blackpink?
that was Blackpink, yes.
I knew that from TikTok.
Nailed it. Look at you, now look at me.
You can't even read what this says, but I don't care. Do I care? I don't care.
Maybe you don't
What do you guys
care.
think? I've had too much Gree.
All right, so show notes is in.
This isn't even centered. Okay, it's pretty close. What's your fantasy flavor profile? I could put it on... What could I do here? Wait for it.
Wait for the beat. Oh, yeah, that worked. Now I can read it easily.
Now you can read it easily? Okay, now I just
Yeah.
have to get it, like, aligned.
Uh-huh.
I just have to get everything centered. Okay. I think that's better.
Yeah. Yeah, it works. I like it.
Wait, I can change the color. I feel like maybe I don't like the color.
The yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, try something else. Although that's a very kitchen-y color. Ooh, that
It's
red
a
is
kitchen-y
nice.
color?
The yellow was kind of kitchen,
Okay,
kitchen
like foodie?
appliance.
Like a food
Yeah.
color?
But that red pops. That's nice.
So we've got like kind of a mustardy. That pops.
Oh, that's nice. That
They
feels like chocolate.
brown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Done and done. Boom. It's a weird one, but I like it. Is this one of the Patreon extras? It could
Sure.
be. And it's free on YouTube, so I don't know how that would
But don't
work.
tell anyone.
All right, friends, that's an episode.
All
Thank
right.
you so much
Thanks,
for
everybody.
joining us.
Good to see y'all.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.